All right, everybody. You ready to go? You ready to run this gig? Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Good to see you guys. Welcome to the show. Welcome to episode 4 of Fate of the Exocortex. My name is Rage Mage. This is the Rage Nation. We'll be playing a tabletop game run by James Marston, also known as Glasswalker Mars here in chat. It's a lot of fun. It's a dark cyberpunk world, crafted pretty much entirely by him. It's a very homebrew system. We're using the Fate accelerated system. It's a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoy it. Little note about what is going on with this show and the way this thing works is that I hope that you guys get to sit back and enjoy a great story. Unfortunately, I will not be able to interact much with you while the game is running. However, I will be monitoring chat, I will, chat and respond with you via text. So, if you have things to say or you have comments about the game, I would absolutely love to hear it, either in chat or afterwards or on social media. Basically just, kind of stroke our egos. We feel good about it. No. So yeah, a little bit more about the game. The players are myself, Saren, Aaron, and Nate. Very good guys. Very good people. Saren is playing Jax. Nate is playing Sebastian Chrome. I am playing Tom J5. And Aaron is playing Lee. If you have questions about those characters, we can answer them for you in text form, or you can just sort of sit back and listen and sort of get to know the characters yourselves as we go. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope that you guys have a lot of fun as well. What's up, Joe Claire X, Crystal, X-Girl? Good to see you guys. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. If you would like to catch up on the story so far, episodes 1, 2, and 3 are available on YouTube and also in the video section here on Twitch. So if you want to check those out, you can. They're about 3 hours apiece. Obviously, I can't ask you to sit there and watch people talk for 3 hours, but if you want to check it out, it's there for you. The story is pretty great, and Mr. Marston here runs a great game, and he's a fantastic storyteller, so I really love everything he's got going on. I think without further ado, we're going to jump right over into it. Sit back, enjoy the ride, stay classy. I don't know. I don't know what else to say, so let's make this happen. Let me see if I can do this. All right, coming off mute now. Oh. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hello.
How's it going?
Excellent.
Good.
I've already given everyone an intro, so do your thing, guys. Do whatever you got to do.
Cool.
Take it away.
All right. So, this is a game using Fate Accelerated. It's a rules system that really focuses on narrative situations rather than crunchy ones, so there won't be a lot of crunch in our way. We're just basically going to work on the story and the characters and see where it takes us. The setting is a cyberpunk setting. We're set in the Boss Wash Metroplex, which is a giant mega structure that covers about the Massachusetts down through Washington, D.C. area on the eastern seaboard in the future. It's a dystopian future, and the world has some aspects that describe it. They're kind of on the screen here towards the bottom, and these are things that are true about the world all the time. That it's a world of chrome, wires, mirrors, and neon. That reality is augmented, disposable, and subjective. And what that kind of means is that the virtual reality or augmented reality is everywhere in this world. Everybody has some ability to perceive it. And it's this sort of layer of information that covers everything. The world is a harsh world. And so the idea of the grind is real. Like the world is constantly grinding you down, and you constantly have to fight just to keep your place, and you have to fight extra hard to try and get ahead. In this setting, the corporations have really kind of flowered and taken over. The corporations are actually more powerful than most local governments. So that sort of corp control is everywhere in the setting. And the last important aspect is that the Earth is becoming really overcrowded. There's too many people. There's too much pollution. Global warming has gone rampant, and there's this sort of claustrophobic idea that the people with money and influence are kind of fleeing Earth and going into these orbital habitats. And there's this push to try and expand into the solar system, but people are hitting this hard cap of how far they can go and how far they can expand, and the population is getting denser and denser and denser. So the stars are beyond the reach of humanity. But at the end of the last story arc, what we found is that our players here have been, that there's chunks of their memory missing. But what they have learned is that they have in their exocortexes, their cranial implants and their cyberware, a whole bunch of data about a whole bunch of projects that's incredibly advanced. And one of those is at least a theoretical basis for faster than light travel. So where we ended last session is they had a confrontation with a entity, like an artificial intelligence, that basically threatened them and demanded that get access to the information that was in their exocortexes. They refused. They blew up all of the computers in the room. And now they are kind of left with this resolve to try and maybe change the world out of respect for their fallen teammate named Sigma. Did I miss anything important there, guys?
I think you got everything. As far as I'm concerned.
Exocortex in a box.
I was going to say only mostly dead. She's only mostly fallen.
Oh yeah, that's
Mostly
a fairly
dead.
important point.
Yeah. So they did salvage the exocortex from their friend. And what an exocortex is like a brain implant that acts as like a secondary brain. So they have a good chunk of her personality and memories on this device. And they can access that kind of at will. One of the things I put on the screen here is I put 3 aspects that are, I think, true for all of you. And I put them under the little Sigma symbol. And these are things that are additional aspects that you guys can reach out to and invoke using fate points. So the idea that you are all connected, that your cyberware is very advanced and is designed to make all of you guys be able to interact seamlessly with each other. And so you can invoke that at times if that's going to be an advantage to you. The idea that Sigma is still part of your exocortex network, even though she's departed, is an aspect. And we have the key, represents all that information that you guys have, that can unlock a number of these really important sort of projects that are in the world that you guys have control of. And that's a positive and a negative, because you can leverage that information and all the corporations know that you have that information. So that makes you pretty valuable commodities. So the way I'm picturing the game starting up is a little bit of like a TV show beginning montage, where you guys are leaving the brownstone where you had the confrontation with the Atlas security team, and you're getting outside. And as soon as you get outside, there's like your car is like a block away where you parked it, and these 2 other cars pull up, and we just cut to like this kind of running gunfight where security guys come out of those guns, and you guys come out of those vans. You guys are shooting at them, they're shooting at you, you're covering each other, and this really dramatic sort of techno music plays over it all. And then you guys manage to get away in your car, and it cuts to Fate of the Exocortex. And then some time passes. You guys were on the run, you've lost the people who were pursuing you, and you're in your van somewhere in the Boss Wash Metroplex, and you're just kind of taking stock of where you are now and what your next steps are. So what I'd like to do is kind of play out that scene a little bit, give you guys a chance to talk about what's going on, and then maybe we'll switch into talking about next steps after that. That sound okay?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Cool. So let's say you're parked, you pull the van over in like this parking garage somewhere in one of the districts in the Boss Wash Metroplex. It's in a non-gang controlled area, and you are pretty sure you've ditched all surveillance. So you're kind of just catching your breath, let's say about after a tense night of evading and got a little bit of sleep, and now you're just kind of finally coming down off this adrenaline rush, and you have a chance to talk to each other. And we'll start there.
All right, how's everybody doing? Are you all okay?
In one piece, anyway. Yeah. Sorry, Sigma, that was rude of me. So, Lee, you've maybe done some of this before. Any idea on how to get a gesture at the box?
Well, that's the problem with not remembering much. But I do know we don't have a whole lot of time to find a way to get her into either a body or another mobile container before the Exocortex fails. So I still have a friend over at Blue Sun. So we might be able to go in and see if we can't dig up an option, even if it's temporary.
What about Spider Hands Lady, Chaos Bleeds or whatever?
I don't really want to talk to her anymore.
Alright, fair enough.
I don't think there's a newspaper big enough. Oh.
You know, sometimes collaborations need to end, and I kind of feel like that needed to end probably sooner than it did.
Alright, that's your call.
Oh, I think she knew all of us. I mean, if you want to speak to her.
No thanks. I'm good.
I mean, I guess it's a possibility at least. Like, not to say I'm eager for it, but if your friend doesn't work out, or we don't think we can do that without it getting back to corporations, then I mean, it's not a good option, but it might be better than nothing.
It's true.
So when the bits do you remember of when we kind of sort of did this before, do we remember who that was? I mean, that was the kid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the kid that turned into the AI, yes? That's my impression.
Or turned into the kid in Sebastian's place.
Yeah, I think that's who that is. I believe that we downloaded the consciousness from his failing body into a new exocortex so that we could be preserved and given a second chance at being a 12-year-old boy.
Do we know where we got the body from? I mean, it doesn't seem like Sigma to totally fuck someone over.
No, it's not. I don't think she would do that.
Right.
Unless they deserved it.
12-year-old, probably not.
He could have been the worst 12-year-old in history. We don't know. We don't know.
Okay, barring finding a baby Hitler, I mean...
All right. So you were talking about finding a body, right?
Or hooking up with that AI that she was working with. Maybe they'd know. Maybe they designed these things, right?
Possibly. There's also cloning is an option. Didn't we?
That would be wonderful.
Didn't we come across some cloning information?
We did.
And as awful and crass as this sounds and really inappropriate, we have plenty of DNA right here.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, James, that's beautiful. Dude. All the information.
All the PCs go quiet as we're busy drooling over it.
So I guess we need to figure out what is the most viable, what is the most available to us, and sort of and come up with a list of priorities here. And I'm not sure that I'm the right person to make that decision.
Well, I'll put Sigma as my number one priority, and it seems time sensitive.
I knew I liked you.
Sigma first, and then we can figure out.
Yeah.
So we're all in agreement on that then.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So number one goal for the group is try and stabilize Sigma.
Yes, I'd say with long-term trying to get her like an actual body would be awesome, but not dead is the initial goal.
Stabilize on the step to restore.
I like it. All right. I'll write that down.
Are you okay, Sebastian? You're quieter than normal.
It's been it's been some years since I've been shot, and I confess that's taking up a little more of my. It's taking up more of my mind than I would like to admit. I'd like to be focused and 100% gung-ho, but every time I start to have a thread of thoughts, I just points at the the sloppy bandage they've thrown over. There's a rail gun, They talked about putting these things on battleships 100 years ago, and now they're putting them through gentlemen such as myself.
I did want to say two things about that, Sebastian. One, good work. And two, it's weird that you haven't complained in like a half hour.
Could be blood loss, I'm not really sure. No, I'm fine. This is big, it's a big deal, and trying to decide. It's big. It's just big. Out of my depth.
Cool. So you have a priority to bring Sigma back. What's the first step in your guys' mind?
I think we need to know a little bit more about our options. Because, if one of them is really easy to, if it's really easy to download her into a silicon brain, but it's going to take 2 months, we obviously don't have time for that. But if it's going to take, 2 hours to do it another way, but everybody's looking for us right now, and if that, what I mean, we need more information before we can make a real judgment call, I think. You guys think?
More information is good.
Well, since we're listing out priorities, there's the small matter of a corpse in my apartment.
Right.
And we need to take care of that. Let's see what else.
And the 12-year-old in Sebastian's apartment.
Yes.
Not having an apartment anymore is sounding pretty great. Thank them for the firebombing.
Well, Jocks, if you need a place to stay, you can stay with me, of course.
Thanks.
With the clothes.
Yeah, Lee, how's your place looking? Have we been to your place? We don't know how your place is looking. It could be full even now of corpses that are on fire.
It got broken into, we know that.
It did get
Oh,
broken.
right. Sorry.
I'm quite sure it's been ransacked and trashed, knowing the trash that went into it.
Well, I'm happy, of course, to have you all return to my domicile, but I think we should go there before.
We should check. On
his
child.
Sebastian's eyes actually light up for a moment. I actually have a friend out of town, a good friend of mine. I've hidden at his place before. It's rustic, but safe and quiet. We could stay there for a while. Surely no more than a day while we get ourselves together, and just an option.
Can you define rustic for me?
I don't think he raises wild animals. Domesticated animals now, mostly, more than anything else, but it's more of a hobby, He comes from a long line of animal wrestlers.
I see.
He's very trustworthy.
How could he not be?
Right? with a lineage such as that. It's an option. It doesn't really much matter to me, but I know it's safe.
That's an option. Do you think we should grab the kid and go for now?
has a lot of appeal, doesn't it?
He's got like net access and everything, right? Not saying rustic as in we're gonna somehow be.
I mean, off the grid is. I think it's.
I don't know how that's possible, but I imagine you know interesting people, so I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
He is on the grid, technically. He is on the grid. I mean, he was when I was there last.
All right. Well, that's a start. So, I think while we move, I'll try to dig up information on cloning labs. Does that make sense, or is that less of a priority? I'm not a very good manager.
I think that's great. Someone more tech savvy than I don't know if we want to try to get in touch with that AI or not.
The other one.
The other one, right? The one Sigma was working with, that designed our headpieces.
Right. I have no idea how to do that. I'll try. That's probably the first order of business.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Do we all agree?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Excelsior.
So your intention is try and find this other AI. Are you going to do that by asking around, or do you have a strategy in mind about how you're going to try and attempt that?
Can we still contact Sigma?
Yes. I'm going to say yes, but sometimes it's sort of faulty sometimes. So you can't. She's not there all the time, but you can kind of access her occasionally for short bursts.
Okay. And do I get the feeling that doing so degrades her in any way?
No, not necessarily.
Okay, good. That's important.
Good question.
All right. I'm going to try to talk to Sigma for a little bit. Let's do this.
Okay. So you dig into the Exocortex and you reach out to Sigma, and she, the way it kind of manifests is the Exocortex starts to become active in its box, and then the network between all of you starts to kind of fill with some information, and then you feel a little bit of a slowing of all of your exocortexes as each of you kind of pick up a little bit of the cognitive load of an absent brain, and then it's like she's sitting in the car with you. So you're all like maybe crouched in the back of the car. One of you is kind of in the driver's seat, turned sideways, and she's then sitting with her back against the passenger seat on the ground with kind of her knees up a little bit and leaning forward slightly. She's dressed in the clothes that you saw on her corpse. So she's dressed in like combat boots, black like cargo pants, black turtleneck, tactical turtleneck, and like a weapons harness, but there's no weapons on her. And she looks kind of tired, and there's a like blood coming down from her hairline, dripping down her face when you first see her. And then there's just this moment where it kind of glitches, and then the blood is gone, and she's looking around. And she says,
Hey.
"What's up?"
All right. We're trying to figure out what to do here, and I had a quick question for you, and I'll let you go rest. We're thinking about talking to the other AI, the one you've been working with.
Rostam.
We don't know how to contact Rostam.
It was with us. It was in our heads. When we were on the operation, it was in the network with us. I don't think it's here anymore.
Oh, shit.
I don't think it's here anymore. Okay.
Whether it left something out there, a contingency plan or something, I don't know. But it was with me until you all joined me, and then it was with us. And then, like, she gets this this kind of distracted look, and she says, "Oh, there's big things I don't remember. Did we do the op? Did we go in?"
We don't remember a lot either. But I think we did, yes. Sorry,
And then-
I didn't interrupt.
And something happened. I don't know, something happened. But Rostam's not here now.
All right.
The other one. The Dis. Ariman. It was there. It opposed us? It attacked us, maybe?
Yeah, it doesn't have a very high view of humanity or our hopes for it.
I think it did something to Rostam. I think it did something to us.
So, it was looking to get at you for something inside of you less than a few hours ago. So maybe it's still there.
Maybe?
Maybe it's hiding.
I get to a lab. If you get to a state-of-the-art computer lab, then she kind of looks at you, J5, and Lee, and she says, between the two of you, I know you can figure it out.
We will. Any other questions, anyone? I think we should let her rest.
Let's let her rest.
You should go back to the hub, see if it's still operational.
The hub?
The hub.
Yeah, the hub. And she kind of looks annoyed, like, the hub?
We're all missing some memories. Can you fill us in on that one?
Our base of operations, it's where we were planning this operation from.
Thank goodness, because our apartments are all fucked. Where is it?
Yeah.
It's under Clock Tower 5.
Okay, any security we need to be aware of?
It should recognize the Exocortex unless it's our Exocortexes, unless it's been compromised. And KO should be able to get you in, no problem.
Great.
I knew I recognized that guy. All right,
Oh, all right.
we'll do that.
She nods and she kind of looks up and gets this little bit of a smile, and it looks like she's about to say something, and then her head just kind of drops to the side, and the blood is back, and her head kind of rolls around, and you can see the empty cavity where her brain should be, and then she glitches out and she's gone.
Oh, this is awful. Okay.
We've got a place to go.
Are we grabbing the kid before we go?
I don't
This
want to
plan-
take that kid to Clock Tower 5, but we should check on the kid. Can we call him?
Yeah.
Yes, I'll call him. What's his name again?
It's 1 second, let me put you back here.
We're the worst babysitters.
Teddy Dow.
Teddy Dow. I wrote it down in one of my many notebooks.
No problem. I'm actually gonna do this too while we're talking to him. So I'll go actually here. Clickety clickety. And I'll grab this. Cool. Back here. And that's gonna drop this over. No, that didn't work. So you can't see it. There we go. Teddy Dow.
Well, I call my apartment.
Okay. So you do so, and it kind of pipes through the internal computer in the apartment. And after a minute, Teddy comes on, and he's eating a bowl of cereal, and just kind of munching away. And he looks up, and he smiles, and he says, "Hey, Sebastian."
Teddy, how are you this evening, my boy?
Good. I'm eating all your cereal.
Oh, delightful. Well, it's no good for my figure anyhow. But, good. Stay away from the boxes in the back. Anything in the front. First 4 boxes should be all right for you to have.
As you say that, he kind of cranes his neck up and looks over in the direction of the cabinet and says, "Yeah, okay."
Yeah, it's fine. Cereal could run to other little boy. How are you this evening? Doing all right over there?
Yeah, it's been a while. Are you coming home anytime soon-ish?
Soonish. It's been a rough. It's been a rough time of it lately. My friends and I are. We have some important business to attend to before I can return.
Have you?
We just wanted to check in with you.
Any leads on my dad?
Yes, we did locate your father.
Oh, good. Is he okay?
Not as such. No, I'm afraid not. There's nothing we could do upon our arrival. I'm very sorry to say that your father perished quickly and painlessly, but very sorry, Teddy. I wish I had better news.
He's just kind of staring at his bowl. And so what's going to happen to me?
Well, you'll I've run this sort of thing before. You'll stay with me if you'd like, and eventually we will. Again, if you wish, we will put you somewhere safe. And work on our next step. But one thing at a time. That being said, you are welcome to stay as long as you like.
Okay.
My home is yours. For as long as that needs to be. So we'll be home soon. I will be at any rate.
Okay.
Teddy, just to inform you, I'm going to be very disappointed if I find any full cereal boxes when I return.
He kind of does this half smile and nods, and kind of looks down far enough that his hair is kind of covering his face, and then says, "Okay, Sebastian," and then he hangs up.
Well, let's go, shall we? He seems to be fed.
That looked like a tough conversation, Sebastian. We're gonna do what we can, all right?
I would like to say that it is the first time I have had to tell a child something like that. But the world is cruel and short. Let us go.
Okay.
Sebastian retires to the rear end of the van and smiles and makes small talk, but he starts pressing at the railgun wound a little bit more than he was earlier, and he definitely stops bitching.
All right. So one of the things I'm going to do to kind of track like individual goals and progress is I'm stealing a mechanic from Blades in the Dark, and I'm stealing a counter from the Sprawl, which is a Powered by the Apocalypse game. So what that means is I'm going to put a counter on big things, and as you make progress towards those things, I'm going to advance the counter. And when the counter is full, then you will have completed that task. So the task I put next to Sebastian Chrome is Teddy Dow needs a home. And as you are working towards finding that place, as you're taking actions in the game, that meter or that clock will fill. And when it's completely filled, you will have found him a very safe and stable environment to be in. Or some way or another, you will have resolved that situation. I also put a counter on Bring Sigma back in the middle of the screen. And then as you guys define personal goals for your characters, I'll put counters on them too. It doesn't have to be this session, it can be any point going forward. And once you define it, you can start tracking progress towards it.
That's awesome.
Nice. I dig it.
Cool. The Blades in the Dark, for anyone who hasn't looked at it, it's a really cool role-playing game. It's worth checking out.
Nice.
All right, cool. So, next stop is Clock Tower 5? Or something else?
Clock Tower 5 sounds good to me.
Yeah, that sounds smart. Yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay.
I'm getting a drink. I'll be right back.
Cool. All right. So you're coming up to Clock Tower 5. As before, you saw... I mean, at this point it's about a day later, but it's still kind of getting into the evening. And you're seeing some of the same people in place there. Compared to the other bar you're at, Clock Tower 5 is a nice place. There is that AR of interlocking sort of gears and clockwork all over the front, and it kind of spins out of the way as you move up. And immediately inside is security guy, KO'd. He's continues to do that sort of eye contact and straight face thing that he did when you saw him before, and then just kind of looks around a little bit. So not like paying too much attention to you, but just acknowledging your presence as you walk into the bar. The other guy who's in here is the same guy that was here the night before, and he was this guy, the guy with the drone. So he is still sitting like in the same corner that he was at before, and the drone is making a slow circuit of the room up near the roof. It's early enough in the night that the bar isn't very crowded. There's just a couple of regulars and a couple of people gathered at tables, talking and drinking lightly, but it's not like a heavy party crowd at this point.
I am no man.
What's your approach here?
Well, I could certainly use a drink, but I think maybe that's best handled once we're settled.
Agreed.
Yes, unfortunately.
Does anyone have any idea where we're trying to go from here? Or do we need to ask for directions?
Let's just ask KO to let us in.
Okay.
See what he says.
All right. Who's making the approach?
I will.
All right.
Good.
So you had made eye contact with him before during that whole thing, and he does the same thing as you walk up, and he just makes that eye contact, that kind of neutral poker face eye contact.
Mm-hmm.
He gives you a nod and says, "Can I help you?"
Yeah, could you let us up?
He kind of looks around and says, "Let me walk you down."
Thanks.
And he makes eye contact with the guy with the drone. The guy with the drone nods, and the drone kind of moves over by the door. And he, KO'd, moves across the room, and you kind of follow him. He goes down the hallway into the back, and then into an office area. And then he leans on like a fire door and opens it. And there's a short hallway to an exit door that kind of exits to the hallway. And there's a stairway up and a stairway down. And he kind of does a "after you" gesture to the stairway down, and the four of you file by him, and so J5, you get the quick impression as you're walking through here that that you just got scanned for weapons. Like something is just like a not like a metal detector, but probably something a little bit more heavy duty than that is taking a read on you guys as you're passing through.
Are we all still currently armed to the teeth?
You should be.
I would say that you probably left like the assault rifles and shit in the car, because coming into the bar with that sort of stuff is not great. But you're armed with pistols, or you're armed with, and you still look like kind of dirty and ragged, like you just came off a job. And as you head down the stairs, Sebastian, you notice that that Kaode is he's not pleased with you guys. And exactly why he's not pleased, you're not sure, but he's definitely not friendly and open and welcoming. And he kind of falls in step behind you as you're working your way down the stairwell. The stairs go down like a flight to a basement, and the basement is full of like boilers and pipes and storage and things. And as you kind of turn that corner, there's a section of the wall, Lee, that to you is very clearly AR, but it's not clear to anyone else that it's AR. It's a very, very high resolution, well placed, so that the light doesn't fall directly on it, a doorway that is covered with an AR of the wall just kind of continuing across. Anyone with any sort of implant would probably see it that way.
So they can see it too.
Cool. As soon as you guys pointed out to you, you see it, and you sort of naturally start heading in that direction. And the AR stays intact, but the doorway behind it opens as you approach. And there's another stairwell down right on the other side, and there's another sub-basement that's much, much larger. And you think it probably takes up most of the block. So it's like walking from this really cramped space to this really big and open space. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the hub.
I managed to keep my nice just over AR and not out loud.
Nice. And so what you are seeing is that let me put these things 1 second. There's like a bunch of workstations. There's more than just 5 workstations. There's all these workstations kind of spread out throughout the whole building around the central sort of computer tower computer monitors. Most of it's all in AR, so there's some monitors there, but there's a projection of like a blank work area in AR, and there's no one down here. Like this could be a bustling hub of activity. Like there's a bunch of projects that are sort of midway through, but now it's completely dead. And the feeling you get is that it's recently abandoned, and that things as early as like maybe 24 hours ago, things were happening here. Each of you recognize a work area as belonging to you. And the work area is like a 10 to 20 foot square area. Maybe it's got some sort of temporary barrier separating it off from the other areas. And it's full of stuff that you would use when you were doing something important. So as each of you are going to your areas, what's there?
Jack's first.
I have to decide. I'm so excited. I've got a really cool bunch of screens that are taking different feeds from different places, video editing, just a whole lot of information coming in, and everything you need to splice it, move the frames the way you want them, all with your hands and cool stuff like that, and a really great sound system.
Perfect. There's also a cot and a sleeping bag and a couple of crates full of clothing and various toiletries and stuff kind of stashed off to the side. Yeah. Cool. Who do you want to hear about next, Jax?
I want to hear about Lee's setup.
Okay, there's a decent sized AR computer terminal with a large processing center with lots of different places to be hooked into. About half the space is very neat and meticulous with various tools and repairing kind of things. And the other side is like splattered in paints.
Nice.
There's a large, rather ancient-looking machine which is used to mix custom colors, and then they're just deposited into cans. And there's a bunch of cans dropped everywhere. There's canvases. It's, there's a sleeping bag on the floor with evidence of like waking in the middle of the night to do things.
Nice. The other thing I want to add to your area is that right next to it, like abutting it, and maybe even an extension of it, is a second area that is set up like a almost like a hospital, with a lot of medical equipment, a lot of state-of-the-art cybernetics equipment, and an operation table where that would like someone could sit in, you could adjust it, and you feel like in face up or face down, so you could access the spine. Like it's a full suite to implant cybernetics into people.
That would be useful.
Nice. And which area do you want to hear about next, Lee?
J5.
All right. So my area is mostly a chair. Right? It's like the ridiculous ultimate gamer chair.
Nice.
Like it lounges in weird ways, and it has like fold over keyboards, and most of the terminals are actually just AR things, so like they pop up holographically in very cool ways. And then let's see what else. To the sides of that are like discarded soda cans, and it looks a lot like my apartment, actually, just in a smaller scale. And maybe a fewer weapons. But you also see, like, on the sides of the chair, there's like a pistol on each side, sort of stuck to the side. Let's see what else. You actually see something you don't see very often. You actually see a hardwire port on the chair. So like you surmise that if I lay back, I could grab that hardwire port and stick it into my data jack. And you're not sure what that's all about just yet.
Nice.
Neither am I.
I love it. All right, Sebastian.
Sebastian's work, it's 3 tables jammed together in a U shape. There's a very comfortable looking leather armchair. And there's a brand new, near brand new computer, very powerful, magnificent. It doesn't look like it's ever been turned on. The monitor is still in the shrink wrap. It was obviously gifted to him out of desperation by somebody. Rather, he has 5 big ledgers with a ton of little tags sticking out of them all over the place. One of them's open. It's just written spidery little shorthand all over. You can't read a word of it. And there's odds and ends. There's a half dozen yo-yos. There's a few boxes of what look like they might be board games. And then on the far wall is a bulletin board with pictures of people. So men, women, children, couples. And some of them have writing on them, but a lot of them are just blank. They're just the pictures and no words. And Sebastian scurries right over and sits down in his chair and gives it a spin, and then starts rifling through all his things to make sure no one's touching it.
Nice. So the one thing I want to add to your area is one of the faces on the wall has a full like worked up dossier attached to it. And it's an employee of the Andri Corps, a biologist, and it, like have enough information there to have like a complete like cover to take over being that person for a short window.
Yes. Cool. He pulls that down and starts flipping through it a little idly.
Cool. It definitely looks like the full identity has been meticulously put together. both by yourself and with input from the rest of the team. And it looks like you have duplicates of this guy's ID card and duplicates of this guy's like AR signature, and that you've probably used it before. You're not sure it's still viable, but it was definitely viable like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay, cool.
Oh, and you got an address of a lab that he works at.
All right, good to know.
Cool. All right, so you guys are kind of settling in, and you're feeling pretty comfortable. And then you realize like the power is basically out. Like it's on emergency power. There's like nothing. Like all your toys are kind of depowered right now, and Coyote is just standing inside the door, watching you guys go to those places, and kind of his arms crossed, and he's still kind of stone facing it a little bit, but you still can pick up that he's not happy.
All right, I'll be like, hey, Coyote, what's going on? What's the problem?
There's no more money is the problem, J5. The agreement was that you fund this. He kind of does the spinny thing. And we support you in that. And he kind of points at whatever your areas are. But we wake up this morning and all the funds are gone. All the lines of credit frozen. We got nothing. We got dick. And I got Soon upstairs wanting to liquefy all of your shit and try and get this place operational again.
All right.
And I'm telling him, you're good for it. Am I wrong?
No, we'll figure it out. Figure it out ASAP. You have my word.
I'm not a numbers person, so apologies for the stupid question, but about how much are we talking about just to get this place up and running again?
He kind of laughs and says, well, we're talking in the millions.
Sure.
We had a line of credit going for $2 million with a black market broker, and we had a regular transfer from laundered money various locations of about $500,000.
Okay. I'm sure we'll get that fixed.
Good. So I'm gonna go and try and convince Soon to turn everything on.
Appreciate that.
Your window for making that work is pretty small.
Noted. Thank you. And I'm sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah. And he kind of starts to walk away and he looks back and says, oh yeah, your cop friends came back. Started pushing pretty hard. And they managed to get him to go away by giving him a copy of the security recordings from that night. You know.
Right.
Heads up.
Thanks.
Thank you.
He nods and he heads back the way you guys came in. And as the door opens, you can see that the guy from upstairs with the drone, like standing in the hallway, and immediately going like, "Well," and Coyote closes the door, and you can kind of hear voices coming from the other side.
Okay.
You guys hear a big shit go over the AR.
Have I mentioned I have a delightful friend who's somewhat rustic? Lives to the south of here. Oh.
I go over to my station and water the few tiny flowering plants that I've managed to accumulate over the time. Then I just sit down and start getting into my system as much as I can.
As the power flows back into it, it comes back online. It's pretty responsive. Anything you're looking for in particular?
I'm looking for some old information that I hung on to that was connected to various very well-to-do clients that I'd worked for,
Okay.
including all access to anything that I installed.
Okay.
With the intent that I am going to start pulling up various banking information to set up some, some code and whatnot to start just gonna start stealing.
All right. So you're gonna start.
Like I've done this before, because you don't pay for apartments on Rebel Artistry.
True.
This is awesome.
True.
Yeah, that's yep.
So I'm just gonna start casually going through every one I have and start setting up systems so that we can start getting an inflow of money, whatever degree we can, without immediately setting off all the alarms.
I like it. So you start that process. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a clock on that, and I'm going to call that goal. Let's see, we'll add that there. And we'll call it, let's see, fundraising. And your goal there is, if you fill that clock, and you can all work on each other's clocks if you're all collaborating, then you'll have gotten enough money to keep this place minimally afloat. I messed that up.
Okay, well, hopefully this will only take a moment. So I know you're busy doing stuff right now, but I just want to.
That's okay. Yep, go ahead.
So my plan is to sit in the chair, and then try to figure out what happened to our accounts, who froze them, what's going on. I'm assuming that, super AI thing is just messing with us at this point, but we'll have to try to figure that out. I want to figure out what went wrong. Why are the accounts frozen? What happened?
Yep. Okay. That sounds good. Let's see, copy that. Put that there. I'll call it funding anarchy. Cool. All right. Good. The other thing you find, Lee, as you're going through there, is you find pretty detailed schematics for the exocortexes. And you find records of surgeries that you performed with Chaos Bleeds, implanting the exocortexes into each of you.
Yikes. I was afraid of that.
I'm going to kind of slide into my chair and just explode a whole bunch of different video clips up. And I want to both update the "if we all get murdered, this goes public" file, just to include new information.
Nice.
And I also want to start up a story about those cops that hassled us. So I want to start working into digging up whatever dirt I can, like the clips that make them look really bad. Obviously going too far with roughing up a suspect, and, all of that to get ready to launch before they launch whatever they're planning for us.
Oh, you're looking for that? Here's the file in the domestic abuse case.
Perfect.
Very nice. Okay, so you're preparing right now to kind of ambush or blackmail them should they show up.
Yep.
Okay. So sounds like J5, you are doing some research, and it sounds like Jax, you are trying to create an advantage for use in the future.
Yes.
So I will have, so J5, how are you doing this? Is it clever? Is it careful? What do you think?
I'm going to go with careful, because I don't want to get caught looking at this. I don't want people to know where we are.
Okay. So you're very carefully kind of doing this research and feeling that out. Great. Mm-hmm. And Jax, what sort of approach do you feel like this is?
This is going to be flashy as fuck. This is going to be some tabloid, like, big headlines, police corruption, under corporate thumbs, get money on this side, beats his wife, like, yeah.
Gotcha. Now, do you feel like it's more personally targeting him, or are you looking into that corp connection as well?
Definitely looking into the corp connection as well.
Okay.
Basically, if they put anything out against us, I want to totally be able to discredit them. Like, is anyone really going to believe it's this cop? Like, look at this cop and all of his problems, and even his partner's in on it, and that whole thing. But yes, every angle. Not everyone is, we'll have something for everyone.
Excellent. So go ahead and roll flashy for me and create the advantage. Wow, you are good at that.
Damn.
All right, so you succeed with style. So what I'm going to have you add to your character sheet, I think, in the notes section, is add an aspect that represents that dossier. So it could be corruption expose or something like that. And note that you have 2 free invokes on it.
Excellent.
So if at any point those guys show up, you can always use that and get the advantages from having that.
And is that available for other people in the group as well?
Yep.
Awesome.
As long as you make it available. You control that aspect.
Yes, I do. No, I am happy to share that.
Cool. All right. That looks good. Then, all right, J5, go ahead and roll careful for me.
You got it.
Okay. There we go. Okay. We're gonna go with that.
Also, did everyone remember to reset their fate points to 3 if they were under?
Yes, thank you.
Why did that work? Give me 1 second.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I should say something different there. Anyway, that one should be
I need to step away for just a second to plug my computer in.
no problem. Okay, so that one isn't actually Atlas. Not that you actually know who you're going against, but that's Nakatomi. And so what you're doing is you're kind of looking at the financial records, and what you're finding. Let me actually make one other roll here. Wow, I'm killing it tonight. All right, someone, you're looking into the different things that were set up before, and you could find the that whoever set them up initially was really, really good with computers. That they routed it, or I guess good with information and accounts and stuff, not necessarily computers, because it's pretty cleverly put together. Like they found a whole bunch of people and got them all to commit a certain amount of credit, and then use all that credit and rolled it into a specific black market broker, and that black market broker held the marker for all those different things. And it looks like each individual person of like 500 different people, all at exactly the same moment within a couple of seconds of each other, decided to withdraw from it, and just kind of negated it. And it looks like that was all shut down pretty quickly within the last 24 hours. And it's certainly suspicious, but you're not seeing a hand at work there.
Right. Okay.
The other income comes from a bunch of different like criminal enterprises who are all making regular payments to an account that the hub had access to, and it looks like that money was spent on a variety of different purchases. The purchases are all like random things, but it's all within like, again, a very short window. A whole bunch of money was spent.
Right.
And then there's so much money was spent that more or less legitimate account that was a front for those funds has been closed and shut down. And with your roll, you really can't tell exactly who was behind it. And it looks pretty well hidden. You would have to fork over some fate points to get information there.
Well, I don't think I could overcome any of those rolls with 1 fate point.
No, you'd have to spend a couple.
Yeah.
May not be worth it.
Yeah, I can't find anything right now. That's all.
Okay, cool. But what you can confirm is that it's enemy action. And you also can confirm that it's 2 different people who acted on each of the different revenue streams.
Okay.
Okay.
Everyone knows that, obviously. So.
Bloop. Yeah. All right. So you've got your dossier checks. Do you want to make getting that information one of your longer term objectives, J5, or do you want to hold on to that for now?
We'll pin that for now. I don't necessarily need to make it a long-term objective at the moment.
Okay.
You know what? Yeah, put it up there. It's long term, right? Long term.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
So I don't know that I'm going to start on it right now because I want to get this police story, in the pipe. But I do want to start putting together the story of all of this.
Okay.
For eventual public release. Hopefully when we're not all dead.
When it's done, like she said, yeah.
Let's see. So
trying to minimize all the parts where we murdered people.
Okay. So
You're so good at it, though.
So it sounds like
it's a shame. Yeah, we can cut down the fact it was me.
Right. A unknown vigilante.
Yes.
Okay. So your long-term goal there, the J5, is to try and figure out specifically who screwed you, or is it more general than that, or is it that specific?
Who screwed me and exactly how? I mean, once we figure out who, then we'll probably know the why. Unless, of course, we don't. In which case, we'll have to investigate that further.
Okay. So I'm going to call it understand the enemy actions.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. And with your long-term goal, Jax, your idea when you get that all together, what sort of effect do you want that to have?
I really want it to be a kind of a simultaneous hope for humanity. Like, this thing believed in us, and look at this, information we have. Like, it is not all terrible and grungy and dirty. And a bit of like, the corporations are keeping you down, man. Fuck those guys.
Gotcha. So hope for the future, rise up.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. All right, and these can change if we decide that one of these long-term goals doesn't actually represent what you want to put effort into. We can freeze it, move it, and change it. Cool. Okay, so this looks like we're working on Teddy Dow Needs a Home, understanding the enemy actions, funding anarchy, and generating hope for the future. And overall, bringing Sigma back. Cool. So, Lee, you're spending some time here working on your long-term goal of funding anarchy by setting up a job where you're trying to steal money from people that you have some connections to.
Yep.
Cool. What approach do you think that is? Is that sneaky or is that careful?
Sneaky.
Cool.
Sneakful.
All right. So what I'm going to say is you guys have how much time do you want to spend working on that right now? Do you have other pressing things you want to work on? What's your amount of time that you want to dedicate to that? And what are the rest of you doing in that time?
I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. I basically just want to get everything moving.
Okay.
And I think I'll go with careful for that. My main concern right now is I want to try and stabilize Sigma's Exocortex.
Okay.
So I'm probably going to kind of get that started, and then step away to start seeing what I can do for her.
Cool. So what careful over sneaky means is, to me, that you're not concerned necessarily with covering up the crime. You're concerned with it not tracking back to you.
Yes.
So people will know that it happened. They'll realize that it's ongoing, and that might make it harder in the future. But you're less likely, if you flub it, for it to ever kind of come back to your doorstep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, go ahead and roll careful for me. I'm going to call that difficulty of 3. Okay. So you kind of start the ball rolling, but it's not quite enough. Like, you got this information, but some of it's old, some of it's well protected. Unless you want to push a little harder and spend a fate point, then you've got like an idea, but you haven't made it like take traction yet.
Yeah, I'll spend the fate point.
Okay, which aspect do you want to invoke?
Let me MacGyver that real quick.
Okay, nice. All right. So like it's not quite coming together, and then you're kind of like, well, you know what? Fuck it, we'll do it this way. And you kind of change tack and jiggle things until it starts to work, and that puts you up to a 4. So what you do is you get the ball rolling. You started the process of stealing this money, and now you're just kind of letting it cook, and it's going to skim a little bit of money at a time, and then kind of slowly build up as it gets going. Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. What are the rest of you guys doing in the meantime?
Sebastian puts a pot of coffee on for everybody.
Yes. Yes, I knew there was a reason I liked you.
Oh,
Nice.
Guess it's weird that you finally found it, huh?
Yeah.
One of many, I'm sure.
you're sure? Mm.
Cool.
Sebastian
catch-
lets his hands remember how everybody takes their coffee, but he's just gonna focus on that right now. He feels like he could almost do that successfully right now.
And you find that you can. Once you kind of just trusting the muscle memory, you make really distinct. The coffees are perfect, and you take them around. What are the rest of you guys working on? Good.
Quick out of game question. Well,
Yeah.
sort of. Some of us have quote unquote wounds, stress. How is that healed?
So stress clears at the beginning of the game, or at the beginning of each session. So you can just clear stress.
Oh, okay.
If you have consequences, a minor consequence that you got last time, you would clear now. If you had a moderate consequence, it'll clear at the end of this session, and a severe consequence takes a couple of sessions.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you.
Cool. No problem. All right.
All right. So Lee's working on that. Sebastian is making coffee. Jax was making videos and stuff. Yes.
Yeah, I also want to turn on like 3 different news channels and just sort of get an idea of what's the big thing currently.
Okay.
And is it us?
Right. So in public, so I'm going to back up for a second. So your priority right now was, so I don't have to have all that. Never mind. Okay. So you start looking around and you start looking at what the news is. And it looks like that, that corporate action that was in that location of your first mission there has lightened up. It's no longer the center of the news. So it's no longer like a shooting war. But there's a lot of questions about why it happened. There's a lot of questions about, like, the official line is that it was a training exercise in corporate action. But there's a lot of questions in the other news sources about what exactly was going on. Why was Nakatomi and Atlas at odds there? And there's no real good reporting on it. There's just a lot of questions. The other big news is you do find a news story on Vasily Dow being missing, and it's a leading aerospace executive missing, and there's some buzz around that. Otherwise, no one is out and out talking about you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
If that communication is happening, it's in back channels and not in the news.
Can't stop that. I'll take what I can get.
Great. Okay. And J5, what are you up to?
I want to start investigating cloning facilities.
Cool.
And what we know about that.
All right.
Like, how does one acquire a clone? How fast? How long does it take one to grow?
Gotcha.
We should also make sure that this Exocortex is in a better spot. Actually, that's going to be my priority. Sorry. I want to take that and put it somewhere other than a lunchbox.
Good call. Good call.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to try
Totally.
to secure this thing so that it can run on the power of the systems we have going on, and I don't know.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So I see you heading over towards where Lee's sort of lab area is, and start looking into that. Why don't you give me Careful roll. Difficulty 2. Nice, perfect. Okay, so you find a something that actually kind of looks like it was built for just this purpose. Like it was a place to store the exocortexes that Lee made in between or before and after they're trying to put them into people.
Mm-hmm.
And you hook the exocortex up, and you get a external power source, and you hook it up to like a diagnostic system, and an AR kind of pops up over the surface of the exocortex with like the stats of how it's operating, and you can see a degradation level on it, and the degradation level kind of stabilizes as you're hooking it up, and it's like above 60%, right around there.
Yikes.
And it seems pretty steady at that point. And as you hook it up, the exocortex starts like generating a little bit of activity, and you can see a meter of the activity. And in AR, Sigma is standing like next to you, like looking over your shoulder, and she kind of nods slowly and says, "All right, good start.
We're doing it. We're trying. It's good to see you."
And she kind of smiles at you and says, "Good to see you too." And then she kind of dissolves into background static.
This is so weird. Everyone hears that.
All right, and then you're going to start looking into cloning.
Yep.
Cool. All right, so as you start looking into that, everyone is kind of like half paying attention. And what you recall, the DIS, the enemy AI, saying was that Project Jeanette from Leandri Corps had to do with advancements in cloning technology.
Right.
And as you're kind of looking into it, you're finding a good amount of publicly available information about the state of cloning technology, and it exists. Like you can clone, you can take a culture of a being, and you can put it in a vat, and you can grow from that culture organs. You can grow skin. You can grow a baby, but all those things would take a lot of money and a lot of time. And there's no publicly available information about like growing something faster or growing something like a whole functioning being at an accelerated rate. You don't find anything about that, but its absence seems wrong to you. Like you think that technology is out there, but it's not publicly available.
Gotcha. Okay.
And there's like a tickling in your exocortex, like maybe you have some data about that in there, but it's heavily like fragmented. Like you've got a piece of it, and Jax has a piece of it, and it's all just kind of scattered through your guys' exocortex.
Yeah, so we'll have to do some digging, or it'll reveal itself in time.
What you think is if you found an expert, if you found someone in Leandri, or you found outside of Leandri an expert in cloning, they probably have some theories about how to go about it, and some understanding of what you need to make it happen. But searching the net isn't going to get you that information easily.
Okay.
The other thing you notice hooking Sigma's exocortex up is that there's a huge amount of what you would call junk data in the exocortex. It's like heavily fragmented. It doesn't make any sense. It's not accessible, but it's a huge in volume. And a quick check in your own head finds that you're carrying a huge volume of junk data as well.
Mm.
And that decoding that would be a pretty significant undertaking, but your guess is probably as good information.
Okay. Well, if we're gonna do it, here's the place to do it. So, sort of speaking to everyone quickly, one of my theories here, and I think this is sort of confirmed already, I'm not even sure, is the AI may be broken up into all of us. We're carrying parts of it, and it's using us just like we're using it. Similar to the way that when Sigma is here again, we sort of share that resource. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Does that sound viable? Does that sound like correct, or am I just being crazy?
I mean, I like that idea better than it got wiped and we're on our own.
Should I do you guys think I should spend time looking for it?
Yeah, I mean, if you think it's useful.
Okay, I may clock out for a while then.
Sure.
This is going to be very involved.
I can give you a hand if you'd like.
I would love that if you have the time.
Yeah, this is running now. I can do that.
Okay. So is your priority, you think, decoding the data in the exocortexes, or is it understanding the enemy actions?
My priority is the data.
Okay. So I'll make that the overarching one. Okay, cool.
Hey, before you get too involved, I used to work at Leandre. I mean, in media relations, not anything sciencey, but I might be able to dig someone up. You know, I did a lot of flip pieces there.
That would be very helpful. If we want to go the cloning route. I mean, we could probably think about maybe a cyborg body, maybe a full-on robot body. I don't even know. There are a lot of options where the software is involved.
Okay.
So what I'm going to say is that you and Lee hook up the your exocortex, and then using Sigma as a sort of a point of focus, you set up a program to start combing through some of that data.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next, other than these sort of things that you're kind of working on the side, what's the next thing you want to do? Do you want to find someone to talk to about this? Do you want to try and gain information from one of the corps? Do you want to try and I don't know, like, what's the next concrete step that you guys want to go and do?
Well, my vote is for the cloning information, the cloning scientists, operative specialists. That would be my vote.
Okay, that sounds good. Whereas, you guys, what do you think?
I think that sounds good. If we don't have luck with corporate sources, I'd say we suck it up and talk to Chaos Bleeds. I'll do it if no one else wants to.
If we're looking for information from Leandre, I mean, can't help but notice that Sebastian has a nice persona sitting over there.
It is very nice. It is very nice. I can certainly look the part. I can act the part. As soon as somebody asks me what a midichlorian is or something, we're gonna have problems. But I'm, you know, it's what I do. I'm more than willing to help in that regard.
Well, one of the great things about the system we have going here is we can help you out, you know, faster than normal order. Right?
Yes, that's true. That's true.
I mean, if we want something like in the meantime, or as an alternative, like I said, I can try and talk to my friend over at Lisan and see about at least getting us something that we could hook Sigma up to.
That might be a good idea.
I mean, when in doubt, let's just try the shotgun approach and do all of the above.
Yeah.
Cool. I agree with that. I have no memory of this. I'm gonna search my memory real quick and see how well Cade, what's his name, Cade? Kaode. How well he knows Sigma. Like, he seems to be part of the whole operation, but like, if he doesn't, yeah, I don't know. I need to know because this is gonna be important.
Right. So so I think your best way to get that information is probably to see what Sigma knows. So you're gonna have to access her exocortex.
I'm scared though.
I know.
I don't want her brain to pop out again.
I get that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put a stress track on Sigma, and the the more you access it, the more you risk the chances of degrading the exocortex a little bit. But she is definitely the best source of information that you guys have available. So we'll kind of balance that a little bit.
I hate it. I love it, and I hate it. James.
Yeah,
Sure.
I know. It's my job. Cool. So we'll put that there. Boom. Make that a little bit smaller. Okay. So we'll do that. And then the shotgun approach. So it sounds like the things that you have going on that you could access. If you don't want to go corporate, you've got Chaos Bleeds, and you could talk to Soon, or you could reach out to KO'd. Those are the three people you have met who might have some information to talk to about stuff like this. You have your contacts from each of your character sheets that you can reach out to, and the risk there is fairly low. The risk gets higher the more you go outside of what you can control with those aspects. So the next layer of that would be reaching out to people that Jax knows from Leandri, using Sebastian's cover to kind of reach out to people in Leandri, using Lee's connection with Blue Sun to reach out to someone there. And that's kind of just friendly information gathering. The next level of risk would be that you tell me that you want to run a job against one of the corporations, and you say, we're going to break into Blue Sun and take everything they know about X, or I'm going to break into Leandri and take everything they know about Project Jeanette. And then we'll set up a job where your team does a job to get that information. And that's the highest level of risk, but also probably the highest payoff. Those are the things that I see available right now. Am I missing any?
Sounds good.
Okay.
I can't think of any.
The other thing you could do, I guess, is you could take a look at Teddy Dow and learn more about him and what's going on with him, because he might be an in to some of this other information. Because you have some reasons to suspect there's something up with that body that he's walking around in.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Cool. So those are the actions available. We're going to start with accessing Sigma to try and understand the connection between her and KO'd. So I'm going to say that's difficulty 3, and you can do it carefully, or you can use another approach and risk different side effects.
Careful. Very careful.
All right. Difficulty 3. Hit me. Okay, so you tied. So you can succeed at a minor cost, or you can spend a fate point.
I'll spend a fate point.
Okay. What aspect are you going to try and invoke there?
Familiar with the system involved. I know the system.
Yes, you do. You know the system intimately. Okay. So that puts you up to a 5, and that's enough to succeed. So you access the exocortex, and the way that again manifests is you guys are kind of doing your things and flitting back and forth over AR, and you notice that one of the work areas that you haven't really explored yet looks like an armory. There's just weapons. There's a table for breaking down and repairing weapons, like doing hand loads of high explosive devices. And standing at that workbench, with their hands kind of like planted on the workbench, is Sigma, and she's dressed in like a tank top, cut off shorts, and boots, and she's looks up from the table and kind of looks around and says, "Yeah, I knew KO'd way back. We worked together right after I left Atlas. He's a good guy, a good soldier. He got himself hurt pretty bad in an operation. He got patched together by some cyberdocs here in the Boswash Metroplex. He, I think, was kind of shell-shocked by the whole deal. Didn't want to go back into the field as a soldier and started looking for security jobs. Ran a few operations on the street, did well for himself, invested in Clock Tower 5. He's been head of security for Clock Tower 5 and for the Hub since. The Hub was his and Soon's sort of pet project. They've been funding it out of pocket for a long time, and we're ready to take it up to the next level. Rostam stepped in, set up some funding for them in exchange for them supporting us. And then they were able to go to the next level and take that techno-anarchist cell that they had developed and really expand it. Then she kind of looks around and says, now it looks like it kind of stopped.
Yeah, we're working on fixing that. So, I can trust him guarding you.
You can trust him guarding me, but you're going to want to pay the bills.
Yep. That's the idea.
He'll be loyal up to that point where it screws him. He's loyal to the idea. If you can sell the idea that you're going to do something big to shake things up, if you're going to back that techno-anarchist idea,
Sure.
he's going to be more on board than not.
Okay. That's good information. Thank you.
She nods and kind of walks over to the gun rack and traces her fingers like along the guns, and then the AR sort of glitches a little bit. And then she kind of smiles over at Sebastian and says, "You walked right up to a railgun?"
In my defense, I didn't really know what I was doing.
She kind of like looks down and then looks up and gives that smirk and says, "You got balls."
There's
And
a
I got
fine
video.
line. Well, yes. I have some friends relying on me, and makes you do stupid things.
She smiles and laughs and says, "Stupid and brave have never been too far apart."
No.
And she laughs a little bit, and then the AR glitches, and she's laying on the workstation table and screaming as the flesh of her head begins to disintegrate and the skull grinds away, and then she's gone.
Shit.
So what's our most expedient option then?
Yeah, that's not going to get easier.
Let me reach out and see what the guy I know has available for us.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll hit up a friend of mine too, just see what she'll say off the record.
Cool.
So the reason, sort of to explain the reason I wanted to ask that question is when we go off to do things, we obviously can't take her with us. I just wanted to make sure that she was safe, and I believe that if we convince Cade to keep an eye on the place, it'll be fine.
I think
as
that's
long
smart.
as we pay the bills.
Cool. I think that's true. Okay, so order of operations, we're going to have Lee make her call, then we'll have Jax make her call, and then we'll have J5 talk to KO'd, and then we'll have Sebastian
KO'd.
do what he needs to do. Do you guys want to be on the page with all the corporations, or do you want to be on the page with your the comms? Do you have a preference?
I like the corporations one.
Okay, we'll stay there. All right, so I'm going to just in the bottom right-hand corner, I'm going to put KO'd. Because he's got like a little card there. Okay, cool. So Lee, who are you calling?
It's a guy I know.
Okay.
I know a guy. He worked more, well, I did a lot of the software kind of things. He did a lot more of the hardware.
Okay.
He is some, normal type name. But I also know that he's an artist as well and goes by Sin.
Sin, like it. And he worked at Blue Sun with you?
Yes.
Excuse me for just a moment. Coming right back.
Cool.
And so I'm gonna call him up on the channels I know how to get a hold of him through the, or as an artist rather than anything that might be official.
Okay. So what sort of art does he do?
He's another street artist.
Cool. What's his like theme? Does he have a theme or overarching sort of style?
Yeah, he does a lot of art having to do with things growing out of death and decay.
Nice. Cool. So you contact him in AR, and the way that he's got his AR set up when you call him is like it projects into the AR around you, and so you can make the connection, you make the call, and in front of you is suddenly in AR this giant skull, and the skull kind of, its head falls back and his jaw opens, and up out of that comes a flower that opens, and then sitting in the middle of that flower in the middle is Sin, and he in this AR sort of projection, he looks like a skeleton but with like a top hat on and a beating heart inside his ribcage, and he leans forward with his hands on his knees and says, Lee Bansky, what have you been up to?
More than I have time to explain.
Keeping busy.
Yeah, very. Some neat new art installations and, dealing with an art theft.
I did hear about that. Very sorry. Your revenge was appropriate and sweet.
He's more sorry.
I don't think he has given up on you, though, so I would be wary.
That's all right. I'll just have to get more creative, and I'm good at that.
Yes, you are. So how can I help you?
I'm looking at getting my hands on some cybernetics.
All right.
And by some, I mean, I kind of need a whole body.
You need a full body prosthetic.
Yes.
That's not cheap or easy, Lee.
Yeah, and I'm crunched on time.
So you need it fast. You need it now. He kind of leans back and says, are you looking to buy or are you looking to steal?
Yes. I'm open options.
Send me the specs of what you're looking for, and I'll shop around.
Excellent.
No promises, mind you. I'm just a lowly artist. But if I can find something, I'll send it your direction.
That's all I can ask.
Good. So in return, I would like a Lee Bansky original. I will give you a time and a place. You will show up and do your thing. Is that acceptable?
Sounds fair.
That's only if I come through for you. If I don't, then no charge.
The deal then.
Good. I look forward to it.
Always a pleasure.
And he sits back and the flower just kind of closes around him, and then it turns black and wilted and pulls him inside the skull's mouth. The skull closes and the skull crumbles away and the call ends.
I'll send him. I'll take a few minutes to research exactly what I want out of this before I send him along anything.
Okay. What are you looking for?
Something bearable.
Okay, something mobile, so bare bones, something that she can be in and drive around a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm looking for something that, at least for now, because we're on a tight schedule as far as trying to get her into something stable, that I could possibly work on, upgrade if need be, or, will also not be such a great loss if we end up going with a cloning option.
Okay. One of the things you're going to run into is the difficulty in interfacing the Exocortex to the prosthetic, because you're missing the regular medium. Because usually what happens is the Exocortex communicates with the brain, and then the brain communicates with the prosthetic. So without the brain, the actual like brain tissue, you're gonna have to put something together. But you're pretty good at MacGyvering shit. So. Okay, cool. Check. Jax, who are you calling?
I'm going to call Maggie Hertzfeld, who back when I was at Leandre Corps was a kind of up-and-coming young scientist, you know, kind of the it girl of some biology department that was way over my head. And so I did a couple, you know, like fluffy pieces about like, oh, look, diversity at Leandre Corps, and, you know, look at this, you know, here's a profile of our great young scientists. All you young women should want to be like her and work for Leandre, and all of that.
Gotcha.
But, you know, nice pieces. Had a couple interviews, got along well.
Perfect. And was it Mickey or Nikki?
Maggie.
Maggie. Okay. Change that. Okay. So, perfect. Let me click over here. How well known is it that you know her? Is it kind of on the quiet, or was it a well-known thing?
I mean, I'd say we got along well when I worked there, but the fact that, you know, we occasionally are still in touch is probably not super well known.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Then you reach out, and she picks up the AR, and her AR isn't super elaborate. So like a window opens on your AR, and you see her. I'm going to say it's like early morning-ish. No, what time of day did we establish? Did we?
Don't know that we did.
Okay, so we'll say it had been about 24 hours since your run. That was in the early evening. Spent a few hours getting here, so it's pretty late at night.
Okay.
And so you get her at home, and she kind of glances up from whatever she's actually looking at, and then the camera kind of recenters on her, and she says, "Jax, yeah?
Yeah. Hey, Maggie, how are you?
I'm good. It's been a while."
Yeah, it has. How are things going for you?
Okay. Things have been a little bit crazy. Busy.
Sympathize.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
not
we
bad.
always keep the smart ones busy.
They sure try to.
Look, I'm sorry to call so late. I'm on a little bit of a deadline. I'm doing this piece on some science stuff that is way over my head, and I was hoping that I could get just purely off the record some sort of sanity checks on it.
Sure.
What can you tell me about cloning? I mean, I know what's like Googleable, but you know what? Again, strictly off the record, and I will owe you. But like, what's the difference between what's publicly available and what's, you know?
Well, I think with cloning, it comes down to speed and acuity are the two things that really looking to change. When you clone something, there's always that chance that the biological information isn't going to make the translation well. You're going to get a cancerous growth or a misgrowth or a mismatch. That the cell replication isn't going to be accurate all the time. So we're always looking to try and increase that accuracy, that acuity. And the other thing we're always looking to try and increase is the speed. We can grow a heart, but it takes a long time to grow a heart. Ways to kind of make the proteins build or the cells build faster and multiply faster is one of the main things we're looking for, while still having a good match for what we're trying to make. And we're making progress on that. I think Leandre has probably the best bet at working at finding that balance between speed and acuity. That's kind of the envelope we're pushing right now. We're not at the point of being able to clone like a replacement body yet, but that's certainly the goal. Brain transplants, there's not a huge success rate with brain transplants. But being able to replace major organs, especially for the rich and powerful, is something we're working on. We've had some luck with being able to inject someone with nanomachines to try and get them to grow something that is genetically like someone else. So we have someone like a host that could grow a heart that would be compatible with another person, even without a whole clone from the beginning. So those are sort of branches.
So how far out would you say something like full body cloning is?
Some people are really ambitious about it. There's a couple of key sort of problems we'd have to crack. But if we were to crack those, I'd say we're within 50 years of it.
What kind of problems?
It's about the controlling the rate of forced growth, and finding that balance. If we had enough data, and I think we're in the process of generating that, but if we had enough data and enough attempts at it, then we could really kind of fine tune the right cocktail of chemicals and nanomachines to balance that, then we could force grow something pretty easily. It's all there. There's just a couple of technological leaps that we still have to make.
Sure. And when you say forced growth, I know we're talking about science that isn't there yet, but is that like we could grow an adult body in 10 years instead of 20, or is that we could grow an adult body in a year or a month, or? Well,
I guess the dream would be a year or a month. And that's having a cloning process that is more like 3D printing, like where you're using a genetic code to generate a body and just build it from the ground up. And rather than growing it from like cells to fetus to body, we'd be building a body from like bones, and then we would put muscles and organs, and then it would still be cloned and the acuity would be there, but we'd be building it more so than growing it.
And so what do you do with the brain on something like that? Is that like assumed to be a brain transplant waiting to happen?
Well, I guess that would be the idea, or you would give it, you would try to force learning through exocortex and virtual reality. And you would try and stimulate the brain to be as close as possible to whatever the target brain would be. The bridging that gap between taking all the information in a brain and putting it into an entirely new brain, we just don't have that. I mean, I've heard rumors that there are people out there who are working on that. I hear Blue Sun is actually getting pretty close. But again, that's like 50 years away.
Sure.
What I would say, one other like intriguing possibility that we're looking at is trying to grow like a crop of clones. So we're growing like 10, 15, 20 clones identical at the same time, so that you can have spares in case something goes wrong, that you're, even if there are failures in that sort of acuity, that you have enough attempts that you get a good one.
Yeah, I guess why build one when you can build a dozen for 12 times the cost, right?
Sure, exactly. And if you get one that pays off for a client that is really paying through the nose, then all the rest is just acceptable losses.
Sure. Fascinating stuff. Like I said, it's kind of over my head, but you're making the guy for the story not sound as crazy as I thought he was. So thanks for that.
The guy in the story, is he saying anything in particular?
Oh, just, that where the technology actually is a little above where it's advertised, which is always the case. I mean, it's not, you're not going to release findings that are not proven and solid, and I don't think he really gets that. But also, he's a little, I think he's looking for a headline, and like coming from me, honestly.
Well,
so
if there's one person who really knows what's possible and the real bleeding edge of where the technology is at, it's Jenny Avison. She's an executive here at Leandra, and she's really given she's been given a lot of leeway and a lot of funding recently. She's really kind of the front runner for that research. So if you wanted a person to talk directly to, it would be her.
What are my chances of actually getting to sit down there?
I would say pretty slim, unless you're working for a major outlet now.
No, not currently. But that's tempting, and I'll see what I can do. See if there are any favors I can call in.
Okay. I mean, I could send her a message, but I don't know that, hey, my friend wants an interview, is going to make it past her filters,
Yeah, I understand. I'll see if I can, brush up the resume and lean on the fact I had a good run at Leandre. So we'll see. Right. Jenny, what was her name?
Avison.
Avison, thank you.
No problem.
And if you ever need anything, I mean, you give a great interview, so I'm always happy. If you're up for a promotion, let me know, and I'll help put a good shine on it.
Well, if you get that interview with Janny and you want to put in a good word for me, I wouldn't mind to transfer her to her department.
Ooh, it's a deal.
Project Jeanette is, I don't know, it's interesting stuff.
What are you working on now? I mean, broad strokes.
I'm working on transferring mitochondrial DNA between hosts and avoiding the rejection of the cell that we're transferring into.
That sounds super impressive, and I have no idea what it means, but that does not lower its impressivity at all.
It'll be very, very important if we get it right in a very, very small way, and no one will ever know we did it. But someone will make money out of it.
What can she tell us about Project Jeanette?
So you're interested in moving over to Project Jeanette?
Mm-hmm. So that's that force, like the force growing a whole bunch of clones from one genetic stock. Mm-hmm. And I think what they're saying, and this is, between you and me, is that you feed in the genetic information, and when it's going to be done, they're going to get that really short turnover 3D printing style group of related clones. And then you can take them and you can dig into them, and you can find out which ones are the best and which ones are healthy and which ones are viable. Mm-hmm. So high waste, but if they manage to get that to happen, then you could clone a dozen replacement bodies for someone in a very short period of time.
Yeah, wow. The uses for that spiral off really quickly. I mean,
she says you'd have to be really rich for it to be worth anything.
Sure, that's always the case, isn't it?
Yeah, but from a technical level, it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
And you get it right, and you find, and you got that.
Well, if Leandri wants a non-corporate piece done on that, I am absolutely all over it. I think playing up the medical angle, you can, the organ donation possibilities on that, it would be wonderful, and I'm sure we can find some cute kids who would benefit, and it would be a wonderful, feel good piece. So
she nods and she says also, and if like Blue Sun were coming through with that technology of transferring the information, I mean, then you got effective immortality there, right?
Right.
Anyway,
and future is now, right?
It's happening all around us. You and I may never see it, but it's there.
And if we see it, we can't afford it, but
ain't that the truth?
Well, thanks so much. I'm sorry to call you so late at night, but I really appreciate it. And if I get through to Miss Adamson, I'll put in a good word for you.
Sure, that'd be great. It was good talking to you, Jax. Take care.
You too.
Boop, and she kills the connection.
Hey, sorry to interrupt there.
No, it's great.
I didn't want that point to get lost.
I agree.
All right, cool. Very good. Okay. So I think the next thing on the list was J5, conversation with Kaode?
Yep.
Okay. So you head back up to the bar?
Yeah. Yeah, unless my impression of him is that he would just prefer a phone call. I'll go talk to him.
Okay. All right, so you head on up, and he's kind of back in position by the door, and the other guy in the corner there, Soon, is just like staring at you as you walk across the bar, and he respects that, nods back, and then stops staring, like kind of looks away and looks back at the table, and Kaode stands up from like where he's leaning as you're walking over, and he says, "Everything all right?"
Yeah, Kaode, everything's good. I just want to talk to you about something. It's about big stuff. I mean, I know you work in security here. Do you want to talk privately? I don't want everyone to hear this.
Yeah, let's head downstairs.
Yeah.
So he follows you back down, and in that sort of crowded basement area just outside the hub, he stops and kind of like sits down on a pile of boxes, and kind of stretches his back, and then says, So, what's going on?
All right. Here's the deal, man. We've got... I'm sorry, I've had a day. So we've got a thing, someone downstairs that we need to leave here to go try and fix all the mess that we've made.
All right.
I just need to make sure that it's okay to leave it here with you. I promise you we're working on something big here. This is world-changing stuff. This is not just a, just a milk run. This is like we're going to change the world here, and I need to know that I can trust you. I know that the money is an issue. That was a hit. We got hit. And I'm sorry that we brought that down on you. That was not intentional. But we're going to make it right.
So you said leave a thing and you said leave a person. What are we talking about here?
I sort of look at him. And I'm really trying to like peer into his soul. Like, do I really feel like I can trust this guy with this knowledge or no?
Roll clever for me.
Tree.
Okay, let me roll my...
Did we lose James?
We might have. Either that or he's become very pensive and frozen.
James?
We'll just have to wait for him to come back. So hi everyone.
Hi.
I love this game so much.
Me too.
Oh man. Your conversation with Janny was amazing. Very smooth. Well done.
Thank you.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Come back, James.
James, we miss you. We don't need another hero.
Oh my god.
Okay. All right. Well, let's. Are there things we need to discuss? Let's discuss things. Let's discuss that cloning information. So, what do we get from that?
All right. So reading between the lines and just knowing how Leandre works, they are way more advanced than that. So I could try to put together let me do a piece that's not being run by our own corporate PR department. I used to work for Leandre. I'm kind of a known quantity there.
Mm-hmm.
We parted on okay terms. Pitch, but someone that high up the ladder, I don't know that they're really going to give me the time of day. Especially depending on what other information is out, corporately speaking. Though I suppose that could get me in the door, it just might also get me shot by security.
Do you think we could leverage your knowledge of Leandre with Sebastian's dossier?
Yeah,
and persona?
If we want to send Sebastian in there, I can certainly. All my information's kind of out of date, honestly. But I know the higher up who's who and the layout of the building and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So that might be a good way to go too. And Maggie had a nod towards Blue Sun in that. So Lee, I think that's, whatever you can dig up with your friend. I think that's a good call.
I thought it was interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, the other thing is, they were talking about we're trying to get all the data to be able to, 3D print bodies. We've got an awful lot of data.
We do.
That might be a little too convenient to think that we have what they need, and then we have to decide, honestly, how much are we going to trust a corporation? But
it's not gonna stay with what they say it's gonna stay with.
Of course not.
It's
And
absolutely.
it's absolutely going to go towards military usage and immortality for really, really rich fuckers.
And soldier production, right?
Right. But, though honestly, it's kind of expensive for soldiers. They'd have to really fuck off good soldiers, and they'd have to solve the brain problem.
Fair point.
Because otherwise, like, conscripting poor people is probably a cheaper option for them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yay!
Welcome back.
I am back.
Hey, there he is.
Sorry about that. Apparently my internet changed its mind on me.
James is back. Yay.
Cool. All right, what'd I miss?
We just had to sort of go over our information and
Awesome.
try to formulate a plan on
Cool.
the cloning end, but we didn't quite
Awesome.
get there.
Okay, do you want me to butt out for a few more minutes and you keep talking?
Actually, I think it'd be better to try to finish the KO'd conversation.
Okay, let's do it.
Is that okay with everyone?
Sounds good.
Nope.
Okay.
All right. So let's try that roll again there.
Yeah,
Much better.
you got hit by Dis.
Yeah, I did. He came right at me.
Yeah.
Bastard.
What a dick.
All right. So you are much more clever than he is careful. So you feel like he doesn't believe you. That that maybe he had a different relationship where he believed Sigma, but he doesn't really feel like you haven't convinced him yet that what you're doing is actually going to change the world. So he doesn't seem to really take you too seriously. So he's kind of doing that nodding like, I hear you, and it just sounds like more bullshit. You got to give me something.
All right, KO'd. Let's see. I'll send him. You know what? I'll access my memory of like 10 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
KO'd, I'm going to show you something. A conversation I had. You can ask questions about it after you hear it, or after you watch it. Okay?
All
Does that
right.
sound good?
Yeah.
And I'll send him the conversation that we just had with Sigma, because I don't want to access her again.
Okay.
So,
How go ahead.
so go ahead. What were you gonna say? You can
I
interrupt.
was just saying, how far of that conversation are you going to show him?
Probably right to the end. Yeah, the whole thing, so we know, so he
Okay.
understands.
All right. And he watches, and then when he hits the end, he just kind of looks like a little shaken, and then he says, "So that wasn't a call."
Nope. Her body's dead. We need to fix that first, and then we need to stop all of this shit. We're gonna change the world, man. It's the
She
dream.
was the real deal.
She is the real deal. Not was, is. We have her exocortex downstairs. I need to know that you will guard it.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I'm trusting
no.
you here. I don't. I'm sorry. My memory is weird lately. I don't think we know each other that well. But this is very important. I'm sorry to be heavy about it, but I don't want to lose her.
Yeah, we don't know each other real well. But this is the first time I've seen you ever take anything seriously. Your gaming chair and your pile of guns and pile of soda cans. This right here is the most serious I've ever seen you. I'll keep her safe. You do your thing. She'll be all right here.
Thank you, man. I extend my hand. Shake it.
He shakes it, and then he says, if you need backup, we can bring people in. And I don't mean guns, but if you need people working on stuff, if you need technicians, we can call people in.
We might.
You're gonna have to fucking pay them,
Yeah, of
but
course.
we know people who can be trusted.
Great. Thank you. All right, I gotta get back to work.
All right.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
He nods again and stands up and heads upstairs. And he just says, "Just don't bring shit to my doorstep." And he goes upstairs.
Roger that.
Yeah, that's going to be the hard part.
Yep.
All right. So, next steps, next conversations, anything?
Next steps. Where are we at?
Well, do we want to prep to send Sebastian into Leandre? And or should I try to get in touch with Johnny?
Well, what about the kiddo?
Right. We should take care of the kiddo. And take a look at how that happened. Do we know anyone who
Wants a kid?
I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, we can do a tragic piece about how this poor child is an orphan, et cetera, and see what comes in. You know, that gets a lot of sympathy and generates some human interest and all of that. It's a possibility. But do we know anyone who, science-wise, would be able to tell anything from a clone 12-year-old?
Maybe that's a piece of the Leandre puzzle that we could bring to bear.
Okay, I'm a little concerned about him getting sliced up for study.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This is all beyond me. I'm too small for this.
Do we have any kind of information on Vasily Dow and the kid?
That's a really good question.
Worked on this and had a direct hand in moving him from one body to the other, so maybe there's some information here that we're just not remembering.
That's an excellent idea.
Nice. Well done.
I like it.
Very well done.
So let's see. Roll
Let's get this on.
Lee. Go ahead and roll careful for me. Difficulty 2. Okay. So you start going through your records and the information that you've kind of that old you that you don't remember put together about some of these operations and some of the things you did, but it doesn't look like you took real careful notes, unless you want to spend a fate point.
Would a fate point be enough to help me, or
A fate point would put you at a tie, and that would mean you could succeed at a minor cost. So you would learn something, but it would cost you something too. Or complicate things in some way.
Sure.
Okay. So, what aspect are you going to use to get that +2?
Let's do Rogue Overlay Artist.
Okay. How does that help you understand this information?
Because I'm Rogue Overlay Artist, I have to have a fairly intimate understanding of how all of this interfaces with the brain.
Perfect. Okay. So you start looking into that, and you do find the section where you started noting the process that you used, and you remember when you had that exocortex in your hand and you took the information out of the man in the coma, and now you're seeing notes indicating that what you did is you put that into the device that Sigma's exocortex is in now, and you had a 12-year-old body with a unformed brain, and you hooked that had an exocortex, and you hooked the exocortex in the holding thing into the exocortex in the unaged, unused brain, and then used a series of complicated protocols to stimulate brain growth to have it interface with the exocortex in a significant way, and then learn from the exocortex at an accelerated rate. And over the course of about a week, you were able to train the brain to duplicate the brain functions that the exocortex needed to operate. And then he woke up.
Wow.
You don't know how you did it now. Like the stuff that you were doing at that moment was pretty advanced, and like you just don't have that in you right now. But you must have at one point.
So yeah, all that complicated stuff that your friend was telling you that we didn't have the technology to do, we did. And I'm not the best at taking notes. And yeah, with the whole memory loss thing, I'm not really quite sure how we'd go about doing it now.
So I think the cost is going to be, you're pretty sure that in a short conversation with Chaos Bleeds, you could really understand what happened. Like it would have to be an open conversation, have to be a good connecting conversation, but you definitely think that she could help you understand this.
I knew it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that the best thing we can do is to go be buddy-buddy with Chaos Bleeds again. I'm not going alone. I'm not having a conversation by myself.
I don't know. She seemed to really like you.
But she really likes you too.
Saren, I think you're on mute.
Sorry.
Yes, thank you. I'm happy to go with you.
Oh,
if you'd
good.
like.
I mean, yes.
I mean, I don't want to take Sebastian's spot if he's so eager to do it, but...
Oh no, I couldn't possibly.
He has a paralyzing fear of spiders.
I have to wash my goldfish that evening. No, sorry.
We should discuss, though, before we go, what she's going to want. Because we don't even have plans for Exocortex, even if she wanted them. At least I don't. And I don't want to give her one.
I seem to recall that what she wants is she wants to be able to sell the same technology that we were using. That we are using.
I mean, we don't have it to sell.
Yeah,
We don't have one to give her. We don't have plans to give her. But what can we give her? Because she might want something. She will probably want something. And we've got a bunch of information. I don't really want to be super mercenary with it. And, go all corporate about it, but
Do you think
we should at least talk about what we're willing to trade.
Do you think the sort of anarchist dream would appeal to her? Probably not, huh? She seems pretty mercenary.
She did, and from the short conversation we had, I don't particularly like her motives.
Okay.
There was something really off-putting. I mean, she's off-putting, but I mean, just in general, the conversation made me think that whatever she wants it for was for profit without any consideration of the consequence.
What's stone about her? I mean, crazy spider hands lady. There's got to be something on the web about her.
So when you interacted with her before, what you had found is that she was a brilliant neurosurgeon who had sort of a breakdown and then went into the shadow business and has kind of renamed herself and reinvented herself after that. That's what's publicly available. Okay. You could probably, really just put some time and effort into working her up and really dig into her history if you wanted to.
I think I've got other priorities at the moment.
Okay.
But I will file that away for a possible thing in the future.
Nice.
I mean, she's kind of mad scientist enough. We might be able to lure her with data or science.
Like the possibility of doing something that hasn't
been done before? Yeah.
We may need her.
Before.
I mean, from what you remember, Lee, do you think she was directly, if we're like, hey, we've got this clone that we downloaded brain in, she was involved in at least some of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, if she promised not to cut him up, if she could take a look at... God, this is our lives. Sorry, just discussing crazy spider hand lady and a 12-year-old clown. And...
I
Right.
feel we got a chance to really talk to her and get her going. That it might jog our memories into... I have a feeling like a lot of this was on us.
Okay.
But there's big holes in my memory as to what we were doing, and they're too big for us to cross without some help.
How crazy scientist do you think she is?
I mean, she's certainly crazy brilliant.
Right,
And then
but-
she's also crazy spider hands.
Right.
So,
you know how sometimes when you get a nerd talking about something they really enjoy, and they just keep talking and talking and talking. Maybe she'll spill.
yeah, let me go with you, Lee. I'm not bad at that.
She was super excited to talk about it, and was kind of disappointed when we were busy with something else. I expected if we showed up and were like, hey, we're ready to talk about that now, that she might be pretty enthused, for better or for worse.
Do you think we should all go, or do you want
Let's all go. Let's
brain
all go.
coaching?
No, let's all go. You should be there.
Me? All right. She's not really my type, but she's not ugly.
Okay. So that sounds like a tangible plan. So I think what we'll do is we'll kind of wrap up there for tonight. Next time we'll plan on doing the interview with Chaos Bleeds, and we will plan an operation, and then we will execute the operation, and then we'll work on those long-term goals and see where we're at.
Awesome.
Pack
sound
a
okay?
fucking bazooka.
Sounds great.
Cool. All right. Cool. So that was a lot.
Please. Of all the strings to pull, God.
It was a lot.
Just drop a fucking house on her and let's move on.
Steal her shoes.
Perfect. So a lot less structured that time, but that's a lot closer to the way I think that Fate typically runs when you're not being super scripted. Still fun for everybody?
Yes, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had a blast.
Awesome. Cool. Good. Then that's it for now, and we'll reschedule something in the future.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
All right. Aaron, Saren, Nate, James, thank you all very much.
Thanks.
I am going to log off with you guys, and we'll talk later.
Cool. Sounds
Good
good.
night, all.
Take
Good
care,
night.
guys.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. That was it. I did the wrong screen here. Wrong screen. I screwed up. I'm a nub. Hey, everybody. How you guys doing? Did you guys have a good time? I had a great time. Nice. Yeah, I gotta save it. Ugh, goddamn. Gotta save that game. Holy crap, that was super awesome. I love this game, and I hope that you guys are loving it as well. Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. A whole lot. Proof that you're getting into a story. Yeah, exactly, Crystal, exactly. All right, guys. So that's going to be it for tonight. Thank you all for being here. I will be back to maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. I know I haven't really been streaming all week, but that's because my sleep schedule is fucked. But whatever. Great game, guys. It was good. It was awesome. I'm going to take off for the night. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the hosts. I know I saw a couple follows in there. Thank you for those as well. This has been great. So thank you all very much. I'm out of here. Have a great night. Stay safe, stay classy, stay cool. Love you. Peace.
You don't know the power of the dark side. You don't know the power of the dark side. power of the dark side. You don't know the power of the dark side. You don't know the power of the dark side. Don't know the power